graphic example, I saw this. I was watching this reality show. It was like a serial killer guy, and it was. But anyway, this guy was caught. He killed a number of people, and he had confessed. The family had a day in court where they could talk to him and basically rage on him. And so the first family member got up from somebody whose relative was killed and was like, "I hope you burn," and this, and just very understandably angry, right? Because it took a loved one. And they showed the camera on the serial killer, the sociopath, and he wasn't moved. He was just stone. And they had the next family that came that did the same thing. His family came and did the same thing. The last one was an older gentleman whose daughter was killed by this guy. And he got up there in the courtroom and he said, "Sir, you took my daughter, and it's one of the most painful things I've ever experienced, and I think of her every day." He said, "But my God commands me to forgive you."
Yes.
And all of a sudden, the whole courtroom atmosphere changed. And he said, "I want you to know that I forgive you."
Yes.
And I was like, what is happening here? And then he said, "This is the hardest thing I've ever done, but my God not only commands me to forgive you, but commands me to love you."
Yes.
And he said, "I want you to know that I love you." And the camera turned to this hardened sociopath who's probably disconnected from his heart for 20, 30 years, and he's weeping.
Yes.
He's weeping. And I said, that's it. The kingdom of heaven was ushered into the courtroom. The Holy Spirit convicted a hardened sociopath, connected into his heart, and he began to feel remorse.
Yes.
And that was the moment I really understood the power of the principle of forgiveness ushering in the presence of God.
Yeah. I was going to say something about, I was thinking about being in a courtroom. A trigger is always an opportunity just to love yourself one more time. I want you to hear that, because nobody likes to be triggered unless it's maybe the apple pie your grandmother cooked and you smell it and you remember the love. But a trigger is really your opportunity to love yourself one more time in that instance. But when I was in the courtroom when I was 19 years old and I was facing penitentiary, and I was looking at the judge, and the judge said, where is your remorse? Talking to me. And inside I heard, do you know how much drugs it's taken, how much cocaine it's taken to make this pain go away? If I release this pain on this courtroom, there would be no one in this room that could handle it. The pain was so great that it took so much sedation and so much self-hatred. And I didn't grow up as a little girl saying, you know what? When I grow up, you know what I'm going to be? I'm going to be a drug addict and an alcoholic. And I'm going to get married to my drug dealer. And we're going to play with the cartel. And we're going to live this dangerous life. And I'm going to live in hell. And I'm going to be afraid of all people, but I'm going to act like I'm not afraid. That ain't what I did when I was asking God for a good life. But it does happen to us. And it happens to a lot of people on a much smaller level, but that doesn't mean it's not painful.
HollyKem and I lead an online program called Transform You. It's an intensive online coaching program for individuals and couples. If that's something that you're interested in, click on the link below and we'll get you some information.